The invocation by Commissioner Goodman, and join us in the pledge.
Let us stand, please, and gentlemen, remove covers if you're wearing one. Let us pray. Our Father and our God in heaven, as we come to the time of year when we're reminded that you directed us to render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's and unto God that which is God's. Give us wisdom and insight and strength and integrity to meet the needs of the county, showing good stewardship and reasonable concern for the things that we are to consider. We ask that you bless us in all other ways. We thank you for the rain. We thank you for beautiful days. We ask your blessings on those who protect and serve us. And all of these things we ask in thy most precious and holy name. Amen.
Amen.
I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We got a budget presentation by Ms. Nancy. I'll turn it over to you.
Thank you. So this is a presentation of the proposed budget prior to the public hearing, and the proposed budget was posted to the county website and available for the public to review since June 6th. The public hearing was advertised in the Tribune Georgian on June 1st and June 8th and is in compliance with state law. And adoption of the budget is scheduled for Tuesday, June 27th at 6 p.m. and the public notice will be in this week's paper. There we go. Okay, so this is the proposed budget for fiscal year 24 for Camden County. And this is where we started back at the end of March. Our requested budgets from all departments was $45,072,000. And that was a 12.8% increase over the current fiscal year, a 5.1 million increase. And at the time, projected revenues were just under $42 million. So there was a shortfall of about 3.3 million. After the budget committee reviewed the budgets and also reassessed the revenues based on the projections of the tax assessor, we're expecting the budget, or it's proposed at 44.7 million, and the shortfall is just about 1.7 million, which would be using fund balance on the general fund. And this is a 12% increase over the current year's fiscal year budget. So some of the major changes to the budget are the revenues, digest growth of 14%, and property tax revenue increase of 14% from the current fiscal year. No increase in the millage rate was used to balance the budget this year. And sales tax revenue of just under 5% increase. And also we're expecting revenue from a Kings Bay subbase road project where we would be getting an administrative fee from the base. Also expenditures, we ended up with a 12% increase overall. And a lot of the operating budgets were decreased, and really it was just reallocating a lot of those funds to capital projects, which you'll see later in the presentation. And our payroll, it's budgeted at a 2.5% increase, which is one step up on our current salary scale. And also for the sheriff's office, a new night shift differential and field training officer differential of 35 cents per hour. We've got 7 new full-time positions and 2 part-time positions. The insurance is really a big unknown at this point. We're having our broker get pricing for us for the new fiscal year. We know the property tax went up, or property insurance went up 25%, and vehicle and liability insurance, we don't know what the deductible will be, and we don't know what the new premiums will be, but our current carrier sent us a letter of non-renewal, so we're working on that. So it could be significant, but we just don't know that number at this point. And another change was an on-call stipend for the coroner. He would be getting $250 a month, and deputy coroners $125 per month for just being on call. Also, we're maintaining the $100,000 that we put aside for grant match funding. And in our special appropriations, you'll see a big increase, and most of that is from funding capital projects. We use the general fund to move money over to the capital improvement fund for capital purchases, and that's almost, well, $2.7 million. Subsidized funding for 911 of $236,000, and for the gun range, we're proposing a $200,000 transfer in to fund acoustics for noise reduction, and also $110,000 to balance their budget. And out of that 110, most of it is depreciation, which is a non-operating expense. So cash flow wise, they're not quite there yet, but they're getting a lot closer. Also, revenue for the general fund to transfer in from ARPA of $200,000 of interest, and some hotel motel unrestricted cash of $27,000. And our fund balance use, again, is almost 1.7 million. We're currently at 38%. When we went into fiscal year 23 of the current year's budget, and our policy is that we like to maintain at least 25%. And with the fund balance use budgeted this year, or for fiscal year 24, it would reduce that to about a 30% fund balance. And this just shows the insurance premiums over the past couple of years from 2017 to 2023. There was actually a slight reduction in the property insurance. Liability insurance went up about 36%, and there's been a 131% increase on vehicle and auto insurance. So the new positions that I spoke about before, the 7 new full-time and 2 part-time in general government, a communications director, county attorney. It's not a new county attorney, it's for succession planning. So it's setting up a budget for the last couple of months of the year. Real property tax appraiser trainee. In the courts, an assistant DA. They've got a 2,300 open cases currently in Camden County. A new deputy clerk of court for juvenile court due to increased caseload. And public safety, a new receptionist. At the county library in Kingsland, it would be 1 additional part-time staff member. And in planning and development, it would be a new GIS manager and a GIS analyst. And just some of the other things that we changed around were we combined the positions of the EMA deputy director and the radio systems administrator. And the current position for EMA deputy director, it's being reduced to a part-time EMA coordinator. And then the other budget reductions, just due to the number of increases in the sheriff's office and the jail, it was agreed that we would not fund 8 jailers, 1 sergeant and 1 corporal, unless, of course, they get to the point that they have the opportunity to fill those positions, and then we would reassess the budget and do a budget amendment. So this is just the general fund revenues. It's a 12% increase, like I stated before. And the biggest increases are in, well, we've got almost a 10% increase in taxes and penalties. And that 14% of the current year property tax is within that, but there's other things that went up and down. So the overall is about a 10% increase. And also just transfers in from ARPA, that's new this year, and the hotel motel tax. And of course, we're using an additional almost $800,000 in fund balance than we had budgeted this year. And this is the general fund expenditures, and I've broken these down by areas of, so we've got general government, and the items here are particular is the elections and registration. Just that increase is just due to the number of elections that are expected to be held in fiscal year 24. And special appropriations, that big increase is predominantly the funding of the capital projects, capital equipment purchases. The county attorney was a 16% increase, again, to succession planning. And our employee health benefits, an increase of almost 18%, just because we've seen this year our health claims had gone up significantly, and we expect that to continue somewhat. And then again, the insurance is really a big unknown at this point. So we've just budgeted the 25% increase. In the courts, the big increase is the district attorney, and that was the new position. And also the public defender had requested a pay increase of $10,000 for each public defender, and the proposed budget is for $5,000 per public defender. And in public safety, it's just an overall 4.3% increase. In public works, a 2% increase. Health and welfare, which is mosquito, defects, health department, just a 0.1% increase, very small. In culture and recreation, again, that's the library, and that increase, there's two things there that make up that 94,000. One is the 30,000 that's going to fund the Woodbine Library, and also the new part-time position that was for staffing. And also the county employees, or well, actually they're not county employees, they work for Three Rivers Regional Library, but the county funds the library. They haven't received increases in pay in probably 4 or 5 years. So they did a study of the region and came up with suggested salaries for staff, which is what we're proposing there. And then in planning and development, the planning and development department is going up 12%, mostly from those GIS positions, but also the code enforcement was part of planning and development this year, but it's going to be recorded in its own department. So that's why that's showing 100% increase. So overall, the general fund revenue and expenses are $44,768,475. And again, how the budget is presented is with the 2.5% bump on the county salary scale. The sheriff's office did submit a different salary level. And if we were to fund that, it would just be an additional almost $613,000. I just wanted it clear that that amount is there, and the proposed budget as is for 2.5%. And capital expenditures, we had requested was 9.8 million, and proposed is 6.6 million. And you can see the capital improvement fund, again, that's mostly funded from the general fund. That's 2.7 million. ARPA, 3 million, and that's new projects for ARPA. We already had the fiscal year 23 approved project list. And the other areas are SPLOST, jail and staffing, impact fees, and unincorporated. All of those cover capital expenses. And this is just a list, and you were provided this last week, and I've also emailed it to you. It's just a list of the capital expenditures, and it's also in the proposed budget, which is posted on the website. The bigger items that are just worth noting are the 18 replacement vehicles for the sheriff's office, and that's $1.5 million. Let's see. 2.1 million out of SPLOST for the new public works and fleet facility. 750,000 out of capital improvements for the resiliency center building. That's the IT build out and furnishing. And there's also currently in the fiscal year 23 budget, there is 900,000 budgeted on that line item as well for the resiliency center. And then $200,000 again for the acoustics for sound reduction at the gun range. Those are really the bigger items. Oh, and at the solid waste, we're making the final payment on the 2 dozers, and that's $450,000. So getting out of the general fund, curbside collections, the big increase here is our rate increase from $220 annually to $300 annually. So that'll be $75 per quarter. And the main reason for the increase was we're no longer subsidizing or supplementing the funding from the insurance premium tax, which is received on the Unincorporated Tax District. 911, there's just a 1.1% increase on revenues and expenses. We're still budgeting for fund balance use and also transferring from general fund to subsidize. The unincorporated tax district, the revenues actually are going down 27%, and really that's almost totally due to a reduction in use of fund balance in fiscal year 24 compared to fiscal year 23. And expenditures on fire services overall went down 55%. And that is a big item. That was the capital equipment they have on order, which we haven't received yet. And actually, it gets a little tricky with these kind of items. We ordered it in fiscal year '23, so we had to budget it in fiscal year '23. What's going to happen on June 30th, we're not going to have the equipment yet because we won't get it until I think fall or the end of the year. So we'll have to avoid that requisition or purchase order and then reissue it in fiscal year '24. It's just really moving that funding over. But at this point, there's a reduction in fund balance use. And the Solid Waste Authority, the change on that is a 2.5% increase in fees for the landfill for in-county residents and a 5% increase for out-of-county residents. And overall, there was a reduction of 30%. And again, that is another item in fiscal year '23. There was a great deal of capital improvements, and it was the build out of the cell number 8. So that's what that reduction is. And Two Rivers Gun Range, it's a 96% increase, but that is that $200,000 for the acoustics. That's what's causing that increase. And then overall, I really highlighted the funds that have staff, but there's many other funds that we keep track of, and they have restricted spending on them. So this is a list of just all the funds, and they total $90 million. And this is a change from the proposed budget that's online and what we looked at last week. The only thing I've done is on the SPLOST account, I've adjusted for the project that Shalana and the Public Works Director got approved last week, and also the Georgia Transportation Fund. Both of those were affected by what she had on the agenda last week. So overall, all of our budgets are $90,627,983. And that's all I've got.
Anybody got any questions for Nancy? Now, part of the increase in the GIS is so we can do away with a contract we've got with Coastal Regional Commission. So has to move those services in-house. Anybody else got any comment? All right, this time we'll open it up to the public. We'll give you, anybody registered, Kate?
Yes, sir. The first is Mr. Bengal.
We'll limit it to 3 minutes.
Time starts there.
My name is Ben Goff. I live at 386 Crooked River Drive, Woodbine, Georgia. Actually, Harriet's Bluff. A budget is an estimation of revenue and expenses over a specified future period of time, and is utilized by governments, businesses, and individuals at any income level. A budget is basically a financial plan for a defined period, normally a year, that's known to greatly enhance the success of any financial undertaking. Undertaking budget preparation requires two things essentially: expected revenue versus expected expenses. I think our CFO stated that once the increased tax digest was put forth and the budget could be adjusted upward. Perhaps I misheard. I think our CFO also said that the requested expenditures by departments was around 45 million, but that the budget committee was able to bring that down to 44 million. It seems that figure is considerably higher than 2023, and as she just pointed out, it is. In every sense, that seems to be exorbitant. In 20 years of living in Harriet's Bluff and in Camden County, I have not seen one increased service level at Harriet's Bluff or anywhere around it. Seems as if I also heard that SPLOST 8 projections were higher than expected, adding more money available to spend. At some point, and this was last week, I guess it was, at some point, I believe I heard the county administrator mentioning something about the next SPLOST 9. Good luck with that. I would think at some point, one or more of you commissioners would say our fund balance, which actually is surplus money, right? It's over and above. You got it in the bank, surplus, right? At some point, one or more of you commissioners would say our fund balance, which is twice what is required by the state, why are we taxing our citizens into poverty? Were any of you 5 commissioners able to see any internal audits done on the department budget request, or were they typically rubber stamped because you don't know or they haven't been done? Dang, I was trying to.
Anybody else registered, Ken?
Yes, sir, Mr. Ricky Manning.
I'm Rick Manning from Bullhead. First thing I'd like to say is, there's a lot on that budget I could talk about, but I'm gonna stick with what I have been talking about. First, let's look at page 6 of that proposed budget. I want all y'all to recognize what's on the top of that organization list. It says citizens of Camden County. It doesn't say departments or nothing until it gets way on down there. We at the top of the chain. But yet, any input we get just goes by. That's got to change, folks. We are the ones paying this budget. Everybody out here, including y'all. So let's try to do something with it. Now, to my point, Two Rivers Gun Range, I'm glad to see you trying to do something, but you're wasting $200,000. Take it out of there. If you're not going to use it properly, take it out of there. We shouldn't be paying for it. Acoustic tiles over that canopy at the pistol range is going to do nothing to solve the problem of the noise leaving that gun range and affecting the wildlife, the pets, and my life. I hear it out there all the time. Y'all know it. I've got hundreds and hundreds of videos of it with the sound, but yet you're going to put some ceiling tiles up in the pistol range when most of your problems are rifle range. Somebody needs to learn how to run that place out there or do away with it. We shouldn't be in a commercial business. You are using taxpayers' money to run a commercial business. How y'all approve this from the word get-go, I will never know. The government is not in business of running a commercial business with taxpayers' money. You open it with taxpayers' money, you're still subsidizing it with taxpayers' money. Yet you're affecting the health and the peace and quiet of the people in the environment. Do you know what a gun range does to people's health? Any of y'all? Yet you're still pouring money into it. You're trying to expand it now with more tax money. Oh yes, DNR is going to give us more, and we're only kicking in 10% to expand it. Wrong. Their money is tax money too. There's none of this free. They don't just have money. It comes from a taxpayer somewhere. Y'all need to get a hold of yourselves. We're not in the business of running commercial business in this county. Your job is to take care of these people. You're the shepherd of this flock out here. You got voted in to be the shepherd of this flock. Act like it. Let's do something constructive with this money. And don't throw it $200,000 away on those acoustic tiles because they're not going to work. Do some research. Thank you. Get red lightning?
Anybody else wish to speak? Going once, going twice, we're done. Speak.